Hey, I'm Ross Kramer. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Listrak. I'm here with Jake Schmidt. He is the CEO and co-founder of Structured Agency.
Thank you for having me. Structured Agency, we are a full-service performance marketing firm. We specialize in lifecycle marketing, paid media, and conversion rate optimization. We work with brands that are doing between $5 million up to a few $100 million a year in revenue, so truly mid-market enterprise brands. We really have a strong emphasis on retail brands, and we really have another strong emphasis on results. So we are a performance marketing firm, so we like to make sure we can quantify absolutely everything that we're doing.
Coming out of the pandemic, what are some of the big changes in the landscape of D2C brands and retail and e-commerce that you're seeing right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say during the pandemic, it was definitely a high for absolutely everyone. We're still coming down from that high, I would say. I think there's a combination of things. One, the pandemic. Two, also the iOS changes that made advertising so much more effective for brands. But I would say that we're starting to pick back up. I think there's a lot of different changes that are happening in the ecosystem, specifically around TikTok and having such a strong organic reach there. Meta advertising is getting stronger and stronger after their algorithms that are recalibrating. But I would say another really, really big impact that we're seeing is so many brands that we're working with, they're having deliverability issues. And I think that can come from a combination of things around, one, their lists got really big and the people on the lists are not as engaged and they're just batching and blasting, and that's not the proper way to do email marketing. So we're seeing a lot of issues with deliverability, and we're always kind of on the cutting edge of how to solve that. And at the end of the day, it's really coming down to being as personalized as possible. So if we could have it our way, we'd be sending a one-to-one message to absolutely every single profile you have on your list. But it's not always that way, but because of Listrak and all of their capabilities, it makes it a lot easier to be able to do that. So those are some of the things that we're seeing. It's definitely still not as great as it was during the pandemic, but I would say it's climbing back up to where we want it to be.
And Jake, we had some interesting conversations around how you succeed today as a D2C brand. And I thought you had an interesting perspective on how you could use TikTok to fill in the gaps of maybe what iOS 14 took away from your ability to use Meta or target on Meta. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I would say whenever COVID hit, prior to COVID, it was really easy for you to just start a brand new brand on Shopify, throw up some Facebook ads, Instagram ads, get some influencer content to use as your advertising unit, and just start to scale. You'd spend 10, 15K for the algorithm to learn and get the pixel really dialed in, and then you were able to start making money. That really did change after COVID and through the iOS updates. And now I would say, though, we have this really, really great period of time where through TikTok Shop, through TikTok, they're still giving the customer, the person that's actually promoting and making content on the platform, a lot of organic reach. So we've had lots of brands that would come to us and they would start out by doing influencer marketing. They'd have one viral video that hits 50 million views or 10 million views, and they would be able to use that as kind of their startup. Like those customers would fund the start of the business, and then they would have their emails, they would have their SMS addresses, and then they would really start to be able to spend more and more on Meta. So I think it's a really unique opportunity. There's not always these opportunities. First, it was the influencer marketing on where you'd have that organic reach. But now it's TikTok. TikTok has that organic reach still, and you're able to have a really, really high return. But what I would say is still thinking about the return on email is pretty crazy. Whenever we're looking at Meta, a lot of our brands are shooting for a, say, 2x return on their advertising. But a lot of times they forget how profitable email and SMS marketing really is. I think there's a stat that I read where it's a 45-to-1 return, which is absolutely crazy. In some brands, they see maybe 15 or 30, but a lot of times what we're seeing is the brands, they're not using the platform to its fullest potential. They're only using maybe 20% of the Listrak features. So it's really important that typically it's because that they don't have enough of a team to be able to go in and really use the platform to its fullest extent. But having that team to be able to use the platform to its fullest extent so that you can have the true personalization, you can really understand your customer in the segments that are the highest converting segments to be able to see that 45-1 to return. So I'll say that TikTok is great for the time being. It's not going to be forever. But the thing that is a constant, and it's been like this for the last 10 years, 15 years, is email marketing as one of the highest returns you can possibly find in the retail or D2C landscape currently.
It is really incredible how email has been this democratized channel that's really stuck around for as long as it has. And now we've got new channels coming out like SMS or push notifications.
Yep.
How do you look at some of these new owned channels that are emerging at Structured? How are you bringing these channels to bear for your clients?
Yeah, it's a great question. I know I keep saying personalization and I sound like a broken record, but that truly is the biggest thing that drives real impact for brands is sending that one-to-one message. How can you do that? And I think that push notifications, SMS, email, they're all a vehicle to allow you to send a more personalized message. So building out a journey, whenever you're building out these journeys or you're building out these automations, thinking about how do you get email to then connect back to an SMS or to a push notification? So like a good example would be, we send out an email blast to highly engaged customers, and we know that out of them, we're going to get a 30, 40% open rate. But those people that don't open those emails, we still know that they're actively engaged and they've looked before. So we want to then go send them an SMS, just bumping the offer that we might be giving them to have a higher chance. So that does two things. One, it allows us to get in front of those customers. It also allows us to make sure that we're controlling our spending, because SMS is more expensive than email to people that have not seen something before. So we know it's going to be super impactful. And then also figuring out how can we add in a push notification to that journey as well. So figuring out how everything works together rather than looking at each of those individual channels as a one-to-one channel. It's like, hey, this is my push channel. Hey, this is my email channel. Or hey, this is my SMS channel. Really building out a journey that makes sure that they're connected to each other and they can use all those activities and those engagements that we see from the core email that we send to build and tell a better story.
So, Jake, let's talk about iOS 18 that's rolling out right now.
Yep.
Besides draining my iPhone battery and forcing me to go buy a new phone, what can consumers look forward to in terms of value out of iOS 18?
Yeah, so I would say iOS 18, I mean, there's this constant battle for email marketers where it's always the world is ending. I'm not going to get deliverability. I'm not going to be able to get into the inbox. In iOS 18, once again, they're trying to control more and more of what we're doing as email marketers. So there's a couple big things that I would say we're looking out for, at least. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't have a crystal ball. But as Apple's rolling this out, they're really trying to promote their Apple Intelligence. And through Apple Intelligence, what they're doing is they're summarizing a lot of different emails from customers. So they have different tabs. They're going to put you in promotions tab or spam, and that's the worst thing, to get put in spam. But what they're doing is they're going in and they're summarizing a lot of these emails. So it's especially important, what we've realized is, so that the AI does not summarize the email in the wrong way, to add in different alt text to the images. So whenever you upload your image in Listrak and you're creating that email, not just having the image or not just having the code there, but adding in alt text to really describe what that image is, because that's what the AI is looking at to go in and then summarize that email. And it's really important you do that so that, one, you don't have to worry about false advertising for the AI to pick up, say, a discount that's actually 15% versus 25% from what it saw or it guessed at. So that's a big piece that I would say is super important to focus in on. I think that as long as you're really focused on providing quality content and it's personalized for the customer, they're going to want to continue to engage. We have a common saying, we're always just trying to send the right email to the right person at the right time. And you do that through personalization. So making sure that you're doing that, I think you're going to be okay. And I don't think it's too much to be worried about within iOS 18. I think there's going to be issues, but at the end of the day, I think we'll roll right through it again.
The big thing that we're looking forward to here at Listrak is Apple's embracing of RCS, or the Rich Communication Services. So I've been texting back and forth with my burner Android phone that I use for testing and that type of thing, and have kind of been seeing the seamless integration of those two channels. We're looking forward to some of the new formats that are going to be available in RCS, whether it's product carousels or that type of thing. So I think it's going to open up a lot of opportunities for marketing opportunities for Android users specifically, and as well as having the Apple support is going to be really real big for us.
Completely agree.
How about trends? What do you see? Going back to the crystal ball, if you had one, where do you see trends in the e-commerce D2C space moving the next 3 years?
Yeah, I would say we already see it kind of, but creator-led brands is going to continue to be really, really big, where they have their audience, where they own the audience, and they're just directing people to it. I think the big tell is going to be between an influencer that doesn't just have an audience, but also really invests in building their product out. I saw this thing the other day, and it was Mr. Beast, where he has his Feastables chocolate bar, and it was really, really incredible. On, I think it was the cart page, what he had done is, if you know anything about Mr. Beast, he's always doing competitions and trying to get people to do crazy things to win money or win a discount or something. And what he had done was, on the cart page, he had put this button where you had to click the button 500 times. And the first person to click the button 500 times, they ended up getting a discount, or they got a free chocolate bar or something like that. So I think that's a great example of really tying the products and the creator together. And I think that's big. Another big area that I think is happening in D2C is, again, I keep mentioning deliverability, but you would be so amazed at how many brands we work with where they have a list size of 2 million or 1 million, and they're just batching and blasting, and they're sending and sending and sending, and they're not really getting much out of the list, and it's continuing to die. So I'll say a trend that I see is brands that continue to operate that way, they're going to destroy their list, and that value that you might have of your list is going to continue to diminish. So start to be more strategic with how you're sending to your customers. But overall, I think D2C is still massive. I think it's still going to continue to grow. Sure, it wasn't growing as quickly as it was during COVID, but if you look at the chart and you zoom out more on a macro, it's definitely still continuing to climb up. There's a lot more market share for it to take away from brick and mortar, and I think it's going to continue to do that. So it's an exciting space to be in.
So, Jake, I founded Listrak in 1999, which is crazy how long, I've, we've been around doing this thing. We were building an e-commerce site for a company that sold movies, hard to find movies, VHS, DVD, Laserdisc. And one day in 1999, the founder over there got an email from Amazon, a commercial email, like you would know it, and said, hey, if Amazon can email their customers, I want to email mine as well. Build me my email blaster. We told him, Jerry, this is not something, that we want to do. Yeah. This is not, you don't do this on the internet. He's like, build me my damn email blaster. And kind of now I'm sitting here with you today.
Incredible.
The one thing that, so many things have changed, but the one thing that has not changed is team sizes. From the late 90s and e-commerce 1.0 to whatever version we're in right now, team sizes are still small, which I think is the reason why agencies exist.
I completely agree.
So maybe, top 3 reasons why you would want to consider using an agency.
Yeah, it's a great question. First, I would say is we have an extra level of expertise by working with 60 plus 70 different brands that we work with. We're able to have this vantage point and kind of see what's happening, what's not happening, what's working, and we can really speed up the learning process. Second to that, I would say, is one of our missions at Structured is to drive growth for our clients, growth for our people, and growth for our company. And 90% of the time, what we're doing is we're driving growth by being able to get that 80% of functionality to be put to work that they're not putting to work by having their small team. So many brands we see, they have a 2-3 person e-commerce team. They're batching and blasting. They're sending one version of an email. We're able to come in and really supplement that for a very fair price in terms of the value that we're providing. So having that extra additional hand that really acts as an extension of your team is what we're able to provide for clients so that they can really maximize the use of the platforms that they're already paying for. That's the second big thing. And third, I would say, really, agencies are always on the cutting edge. Like I said, we have that vantage point. We see what's happening, but we're on the cutting edge and we know what's going on. We're proactive and we really can act as a true consultant and a true partner in your business with you. So those are some of the reasons I think an agency is great, as long as you have the right agency. Of course, there are a lot of agencies out there that kind of tarnish the name for agencies, but I think if you have an agency and they're proactive and you're asking the right questions, you're going to be able to have a really, really great time working with your agency partner.
How do we find out more about Structured?
Structured. So if you go to Structured Agency, structured.agency, there's no .com. You can go to our website. You can reach out. I'm very active on LinkedIn. So if you want to search Jake Schmidt on LinkedIn, I'll connect and we'll be able to have a conversation. Love to provide free audits for anyone if they're interested, but thank you so much.
And you make house calls as you have today at Listrak headquarters.
Yes, I will come visit you if you come up and sign with us.
Good deal. Good deal. Great to have you here.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being on the podcast today.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me.